While I pondered weak and weary, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
Hello, you're watching Premiere Scene and welcome to the Gala Screening of Summer in February, an event held in aid of the Princess Alice Hospice.
Florence, what are you doing here?
How do you do, Miss Carterworth?
Captain Evans, with the Monmouthshire Militia.
Yes.
But he also keeps an eye on all the wayward artists.
This Munnings chap.
There's nothing of it off about the fellow, is there?
They tell me he's a genius.
Oh, Lord, no.
Now, you're not only starring in this film, but you're producing as well.
I did.
So you must really believe in the story. What was it that caught your attention?
Well, this is a book that I've lived with for half of my life. It was written by a man who was a teacher at my school, but never taught me, but directed me in a few school plays, and really became my mentor and my friend, and nurtured my love of theatre and love of literature. Anyway, when I arrived at the school, this book had just been published, and there was a real buzz about it, and people who read it felt really, really passionately about it, and also felt passionately that it should be a film. And I sort of put that to the back of my mind, and Jonathan Smith, who wrote the book, always joked that if it did get made into a film, I should play Gilbert. Again, didn't really think anything more of it. And a few years later, he introduced me to another man, Jeremy Cowdery, one of our other producers, who wanted to make this into a film. He bought the rights and said, how do I do this? So we've been developing the script for about 7 or 8 years, turning it around and, looking at different ways of...
How has it transformed in that it's taken a long while then? You've been working on it for that?
Yeah, there were some very, very dark drafts, some rather too light drafts, and there were drafts where we didn't quite capture the essence of Florence, and, she's such a mysterious and beautiful creature that comes into the midst of this colony of artists, and it's very difficult to put that down in a screenplay somehow. You can't just put she is mysterious and ethereal and hope that everybody who reads it will get it, So we worked on that for a while, and it is such a bizarre story, and it's true, and I think that's what's so bizarre about it. If you'd written this in a conventional narrative, people would have said, why does she do that? But that's what we really wanted to understand, was what happened to this woman, and it's just such an engaging story that, as I say, it's lived with me half my life.
And it tells the story of a love triangle, so could you tell me a bit about the dimensions of the characters there?
Sure, so I play Gilbert Evans, who is the land agent who looks after these wayward artists and refurbishes their painting huts and just generally keeps them in check. And Dominic Cooper plays AJ Munnings, who is the star of the show, the main attraction down there in Lamorna, superstar artist, already exhibiting up in London, very exciting man to be around, very charismatic. And they're great friends. And into their midst one night walks this mysterious, beautiful, ethereal creature, the Venus de Milo herself, and knocks them both for 6. They both fall for her in their own ways, and she falls for both of them in a strange way and is torn. And it tears the men's friendship apart, and it tears her apart mentally. And so the film really explores that turbulent triangle.
Very deep, very emotional. Will this film appeal to females mostly? Or?
Well, I think it's a bit of a weepy, so I'm told, whatever that means. But we hope it appeals to all sorts of people, really, who enjoy films that make you feel something. And I think all too rarely do we sit down and watch a film that actually makes us feel anything. And I'm told that we've achieved something of that with this film, and that makes me very proud.
And the fact that it's a true story, do you think it's that original quality that will make this movie stand out?
Well, I think it stands in quite a classic heritage, really, but it is such an extraordinary story that it could almost only be true, if you know what I mean. And so, we felt a great responsibility to the true history, and I certainly felt a responsibility to Gilbert Evans' family, who are still alive and probably here tonight, in fact. And so yeah, it was a real challenge, but a very exciting one.
There's more to you than meets the eye.
Is there?
Remember, whatever I say or do, I'm your friend.
You are going to be the most famous artist in England.
I play AJ Munnings, who, at the time of this film, they lived all together in Cornwall in a sort of artistic colony where they, I suppose really they were there mainly because the light was so beautiful down there. And he became much more, he was just establishing his career then and was becoming rather famous. And then he went on to be president of the RA, where he gave this most fantastic speech when he retired, where he got awfully drunk and decided to completely destroy the idea of modernism.
Did you take after him? You got a bit drunk before the scenes, get into character?
No, I didn't quite do that, but he was. Yeah, he certainly liked to have a drink or two, and was not scared of offending or upsetting people. It's very fun to play someone like that because they're so bold and obnoxious to a certain degree, and so I think the editor hated me because every single thing I did was completely differently and didn't seem to care very much. Make sure.
And how did you interpret the role? Was it an easy role to play because he's a real person? So does that add the pressure?
I think I kind of like that because there's a sort of wealth of information that you can refer back to, and there are biographies, and there are. Although this particular story is taken from one man's diaries and one man's opinion of this person, it's very revealing and very honest. But I don't feel pressure from it. There'll be many people who knew him or knew the family and will say I got it completely wrong. But it's nice to just to know that events actually happened and how he was. When you're creating a character from scratch, you have to have an awful lot of confidence that you're making the right decisions. Actually, when it's there, you know that they happened, and you know that that's part of his life.
Finally, what is it about this story that made you fall in love with it?
I liked what it said about us and a close-knit group of friends, and how we treat one another, and how that sort of bohemian life that they were leading, which seemed sort of idyllic, slowly broke down and didn't function well at all. And it's a beautiful love story. It's terribly sad, and I love that it came from this man's very much his heart and a real truth, and his diary entries, and that no one really knew about this time of his life. And he was very much in love and continued to be in love with this woman for the majority of his life, it seemed.
You and I are getting on rather nicely.
Do you know who you are, deep down?
Yes, I think so.
Years from now, they'll look at you and they'll know exactly what I was thinking.
I was given the story by a friend who just came up to me at lunch one day and said, I've been told this absolutely amazing thing that happened down in Cornwall 100 years, well, it wasn't 100 years ago then, 80 years ago. And he said it's right up your street, because I've written, things with historical background before. And he took about 2 minutes to give me the outline, and I actually could feel my hands going funny, I mean, it hit me just like that.
What is it about this love story that makes it so unique?
Well, I mean, everybody knows the complexities of falling in love or not being, or being in love and not getting the girl you want, or being the girl and getting the wrong guy. It has the kind of classic two great friends fall for the same girl, but it's much darker and more unusual than that. So it is, it has a traditional arc in terms of the three core people, but the things that happen to them are amazing, disturbing, and extraordinary, and true. And that just hooked me,
Can you tell me a bit about the process from going from a book to on screen? Do you think it's converted well?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something they don't always ask the writer to do. They usually...
Yeah, that's very unique.
They usually get somebody else in because you need to be savage, You have to do all the tough things to a novel, and apparently writers don't find it easy to be tough on their own work. But I honestly didn't find it all that difficult. I don't mean it isn't a challenging thing, but I never even reread the book. I've never reread it. I wrote it. I never read it from the day. I just sat down and thought, how's this going to work on film? So I just thought film. I never thought I've got to get that scene, got to get that. Wouldn't it be lovely if I got that scene I'm very fond of? And none of that.
In the book, were you heavily involved with the casting? Because you must have had quite a clear...
No, I wasn't involved in the casting, but I was much closer to the film than many writers are, because of my friendships, really. I mean, Jeremy Cowdery, who's the producer who raised the money, is a close friend of mine, so my wife and I did go down, got to know the actors, were on location quite a bit, not all the time, but we were made welcome. And writers aren't always welcome because they're often thought to be difficult, as you know, but I'm not.
And just one quick question. Can you tell me a bit about the tone of this story? Do you think it's going to appeal more to female viewers or the male viewers as well?
Well, women buy more novels, and women tend to be very caught up in emotional stories. And when I do book clubs and signings, I would say that more women than men are asking me to sign or to go to their book club. So, yes. But I mean, I hope it's not just that. I mean, I think the really exciting thing is that we've got young talent in the film. Okay, so I mean, Dominic Cooper, Dan Stevens, Emily Browning, Hattie Moran. I mean, there's serious young talent there. So what we want is young people to go as well as the middle-aged.
Florence, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes?
What on earth are you doing mooning about out here?
Come on. Will you marry me?
Dolly is a East End model who comes down from London to be painted by Laura Knight, who's the artist played by Hattie Morahan. And she's our good time girl who drinks, smokes, sleeps with everyone, gets naked, does it all. A dream to play.
So would you say it was a fun role to play then? It sounds it.
Oh, absolutely. It was brilliant fun. I mean, I had my ups and downs with being cold and wet and naked a lot, but it was such a great cast who, would look after you when you come out of the water. Dan would have a brandy waiting for you.
Not a blanket, a brandy. You've got an alcohol blanket. What was it like working with such an amazing cast?
Oh my God, brilliant. I mean, I'd met Dan briefly before, so I already knew that he was going to be lovely. He's a real gent. And Dominic is fantastic. Great just to watch them, really. I mean, they're brilliant actors, and Hattie Morahan, I could just watch her forever, really. She's fantastic.
It's almost a celebration of Cornwall, really. Yeah. So what do you think that the backdrop of having it filmed on a rural seaside coast in England brings to the story?
Oh, I think it brings everything to the story. I think it's a real celebration of being British, and I hope for the Cornish community we've done it justice as well. They were the most welcoming people, and a lot of them were in the film as well as extras and things. So
really?
Yeah.
So you just go find people and call?
Yeah, we'd be down the pub in the Wink, and then someone would come up to us, and then the next day they'd be dressed in period outfits.
15 minutes of fame came from the pub.
Exactly.
The most important thing is that you make her happy.
Of course.
It's a strange feeling, having given oneself away so lightly.
Was this an easy character for you to fit into, or did you have to do a lot of studying of the book?
I did read the book. Did you know there's actually?
That's a good start, man.
So yeah, no, it was. There's not actually a lot of because these are all real characters, and not actually a lot of Joey's work has survived. You can find the odd sketch here or there, so there's not as much. So I could only really draw from the book and from the script, which in some ways was difficult, but in some ways kind of took the pressure off a little bit and let me kind of go with my instincts on it a bit more.
Just drawing on that, it's a true story. Do you think that adds pressure on you as an actor?
I think, I think in some extent it does to, because you want to, pay homage and do these people, do these people justice. But at the same time, as I said, there wasn't a lot I could find on Joey, other than that he sadly passed away just after our film finishes. So I the pressure was off a little bit with me. But if you talk to Hattie, had like binders and binders full of things. It just made me feel terrible when I arrived. Like, no, I looked, but it just wasn't there. There wasn't anything. I couldn't find anything. So yeah.
Tell me a bit about filming in Cornwall, because that must be quite a relaxed place to film, I'd imagine.
Yeah, relaxed. Yeah, no, it was it was very, very cold. So
really,
yeah, I was freezing. I mean, we were in February, yeah, and we did have to. Not me so much, but Mia had to be in the water, and we had to be down on the beaches. So that was difficult, but it was really amazing. It's given me a whole new appreciation of the scenery we have right on our doorstep. And I'm not just saying that. It really was. It was a special experience.
And ultimately, being a true story, are you happy with the way that the movie's turned out?
Yeah, very, very happy. I was, you're always nervous before, but as 10 minutes in, I was just going with it, and it was really nice. It's really nice. I think it's turned out so nicely because it was such a wonderful experience making it.
Do not talk to me about what you have seen, and above all, do not talk to me about art and life.